Welcome back everyone to another video. Today I'm going to be ranking items in the tools tab. This is one of my favorite tabs because there aren't many useless items in it, unlike a lot of other tabs in the game. Almost every item in here has some sort of use. First off, we got the axe. Axe, obvious S tier. It's the first weapon you'll want to go with, so that's obviously very good. You need it for chopping down trees. Also, obviously very good. So really just extremely good item. Very necessary to progress in the game. We got the gold axe. I don't know exactly what this one's name is. Luxury, opulent, whatever it is. They all have their own little thing, but this just has more durability and costs gold to craft. Much better for late game than the flint axe is. So it also goes up in S tier, great for chopping trees down. You won't really be using this much as a weapon though. It just doesn't come up because you'll have another weapon by then. Pickaxe, S tier 2. You need this to be able to gather gold effectively, get rocks effectively. It isn't very good as a weapon, but it's very necessary to be able to move forward in the game. It's also very helpful with your first ruins rush. You normally won't have gold pickaxe by then, so it can be very useful. We got the gold pickaxe, which is just very similar to the gold axe. It's just a better version of the pickaxe for late game because it has more durability and because it uses gold instead. Gold is easier to come by in late game than flint is. Shovel will go up in S tier. This is really helpful for getting things like mushrooms dug up if you are a player who's like rushing, or if you're basing, you're probably going to want to dig up some grass tufts, some saplings eventually to add them to your base. Next up, we got the gold shovel. So just like the other gold tools, this one's going to go up in S tier. And once again, it just has more durability and it costs gold instead of flint. So it's pretty useful. I will say, as far as I see these three sets of items, I see the shovel as the one that is the least important because the other two are basically necessities. And the shovel just has a whole bunch of things that it adds on to make your experience so much faster, which it should still definitely be an S tier item. These items are just, you can't bypass these items. You need them. Pitchfork. So Pitchfork is very useful for mega basers. So I'm going to put it up in A tier. You need this so that you can remove the turf from the ground, and then you could put in whatever else you need. Maybe you need man-made turf. That way you can go and add something around a lure plant. That way it doesn't like sprout up eye plants because you're farming it or something. Sometimes you'll just do that on a boat. That'll be more effective. Or maybe you're just digging up some turf so you can add some cobblestones or some scaled flooring. Whatever it is you're doing, it's very necessary for mega basers, and it's one of the best mega basing items. I'm going to put it in A tier. It's also good for players who are rushing in certain situations because turf can be good for fire fuel. Very just cheap. Next up, we got the hammer. Hammer goes to S tier. Basically, this is an S tier because first off, you can use it to get more gears and stuff out of the ruins. Second off, pig houses. Third off, pig heads. That's basically all I ever end up using it for. And then maybe like a couple things I'll break down at the base, like a science machine and a prestidigitator once I have the tier 2 stations. Extremely good item. Once again, I'd say it's less useful than a pickaxe or an axe is though, because it's not a necessity. It's just a really, really strong add-on item. The razor. I don't see this item get used very often, but it actually is still a decent item. And it is actually speedrun viable for the Ancient Fuel Weaver speedrun. It is actually faster if you path correctly. You use this to get the beefalo fur that you need for the saddle. That way you can put the shadow pieces heads on quickly. So it's actually a pretty efficient item. I put it in C tier. I'm actually putting it up in B tier. I wasn't thinking of that much. Yeah, it's actually a pretty good item. It takes a fairly decent player to use it correctly and to its highest level of efficiency, and it's only used for a very short period of time though, so we're putting it in B tier. The feather pen, this is another mega basing item, so this helps with organization. It lets you write a certain item on a sign. We're going to put it in B tier. It's not as useful as the pitchfork for mega basing, but it's pretty much required if you want to organize your stuff. Saddle horn, you don't need this. You can just kill the beefalo to get the saddle back if you need the saddle back for whatever reason. F tier, this is going to have to go in F tier. I just don't see any reason why you would need this. Unnecessary. The regular saddle, this is pretty much the only time I would say it's effective to use this is for transporting shadow pieces heads. I will not fully tame a beefalo to do that. I'll just get it past like that, whatever it is, the 10% mark, so it'll allow me to put the saddle on, and then I'll transport the heads like that because they won't be slow that way. Let's say this will go in B tier. It's extremely necessary for Ancient Fuel Weaver speedrun if you want to look at that, and that's actually a great measure of efficiency because the Ancient Fuel Weaver is kind of seen as the pseudo final boss. Or saddle. Even if you wanted to tame a beefalo, like you want to get yourself a little friend or something, which isn't very effective, I'm just gonna say that right now, but if you wanted to, just because you wanted to have fun, this item would still just not be good. It's extremely hard to gather and it's not very useful at all. It makes it so the beefalo does more damage, but this guy with the more speed is more effective, and you can use that with your little beefalo buddy instead. So Glossamer Saddle, normally I would put this guy down in F tier because it's not efficient. And, you know, having a little beefalo buddy, not effective, even if you want to do it. You're just having a little friend for some fun or whatever. But with that, there's actually another use case for this. This item's absurdly expensive, I gotta say. It takes like an absurd amount of butterfly wings. I think it's 68 if I remember correctly. And what that allows you to do is you can craft it with a construction amulet from the ruins and then deconstruct it with a deconstruction staff, and you get a whole bunch of items out of it. So it's actually a good item used for the dupe strategy, which is, you know, D tier. And it's not an actual dupe, by the way. It's just how green gems work. We got the brush. So this is for taming beefalo. I have to put it down in F tier because taming beefalo, that's just not efficient. That's all I can say. Salt lick. I know this has some weird uses for no idea, but I've never seen it being like actually used effectively in those scenarios. Mostly what I see it used for is for keeping the tamed beefalos around. If someone knows a way to use this effectively for no idea for like a mega base or something, let me know in the comments. But for now, I'm just going to put it in F tier because as far as I know, it's pretty much only used for keeping beefalo tamed. So yeah, we'll just put it in there. So you can see this tab is very, very much so S tier heavy. And then you have a lot of high tier items here too. Very few low tier items in this tab. So if you like the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Otherwise, I'm going to bonk you with this hammer.